Okay, hello everyone, and thank you so much for your patience. That was basically the recurring nightmare that I was having like the entire week. But we made it through. Thank you for being patient with us. My name is Christopher Rodgers. Welcome to cloudy Vancouver. I'm your stream host for today. I'm the one you blame when things don't go right, so that's on me. We have a great show prepared for you today. I'm really excited about it. First thing in my notes here was to explain, well, we've never done this before, clearly, as you can tell. But you know what? I think there's a level of comfortability and authenticity that happens, you know, with these moments when we pull together. So thank you so much for your help, everyone. What's coming up? So we've got interviews. We've got clips from Still the Water. We are going to have a live Q&A. Obviously, most of you who are hanging out on YouTube now have experienced the YouTube chat, so we'll be engaging with you directly through that, which is going to be really exciting. And we're going to see some behind the scenes. It's going to be very exciting. But first, let's just start with the trailer. Enjoy.
Here's your dad's brother, Jordy. You been driving all night?
So anyway, keep going down this way. We have...
When I was a boy, I had everything.
You got kicked off another team, didn't you?
News travels fast, huh?
I sailed ships with the cowboy, and I never grow old.
You remember me at all? From high school?
She probably knows. You know that, right?
Of
Of course she knows. She's not blind.
You need to move on with your life. You're breaking his heart.
I miss that old Macaulay magic. Curious about that? Got a taste of his own medicine.
Just can't get used to seeing him sober.
Oh, he's been sober ever since Mom died. Ever since, you know.
They spit on him, you know. Once a drunk, always a drunk, right?
Those lobster dinghies roll, remember, Bite?
No way.
Yeah, why the hell not? Lobster fishing will make a hell of a lot more, right, Nick?
You know, find your own boat, get your own dinghy.
Hey guys. So welcome tonight. And I just want to say that thanks for your patience. And you just got your first lesson in filmmaking, which is when technical problems happen, all you have to do is, you know, take a deep breath, exhale, and roll with the punches. Say a few prayers. Right, Colin?
Absolutely.
So, hey, how are you?
I'm good.
So,
I'm good.
For those who don't know me, I am Susan Rodgers, so director and writer of Still the Water, and one of the producers. Rick Gibbs and Nicole Morrison are the other producers, so shout out to them. And this handsome fella that you're seeing on your screen is Colin Price, and he is an actor from Toronto. You can see the CN Tower there in the background, I think, which is kind of cool. So Colin and I are going to just have a little chat. For those of you that have already seen the movie during the festival run, then you will recognize Colin. He played one of the oldest, he played the oldest brother in our movie Still the Water, and the oldest brother's name is Nicky. If you haven't seen the film yet, then you are in for a treat because Colin's performance is just amazing. Very, and I think my first question is going to come from, I guess, where my train of thought is taking me, which is when I wrote Nicky, the oldest Macaulay brother, I always pictured him as a very silent guy. So I have to ask you, Colin, what appealed to you about playing such a silent guy? I mean, not a lot of dialogue. Yeah, tell me what you think.
Well, initially I didn't know how limited he was in terms of the dialogue. You had me at brothers and hockey and on an island of PEI, so I was sold at that point. But in terms of how to play that, it was a lot of internal challenges, right? I mean, in terms of the preparation and finding the mindset and the heartbeat and the rhythm of Nicky, and then kind of just following your direction, playing off of Ry, and letting the magic fall where it lay.
Yeah, and I mean, I think you did an amazing job because I think it's probably on some level it's probably more difficult to play a character that doesn't speak a lot. But one reason I have to say, like, you know, we cast you. For the people that are watching, wondering how this whole process happened. We watched a lot of what is known in the acting world, I guess, as self-tapes. Many, and you stood out right from the beginning as Nicky. And then I was able to go to Toronto and meet you in person. Yeah. And I also did a trip to Vancouver. So, I mean, I talked to a lot of actors, but one thing that sold you for me in the part was you had the ability to express a lot just through your eyes, I think. And I was able to see that you had, in playing Nicky, you had a lot of strength, but, you know, there was also sort of that element of vulnerability there. And it comes through in the film, like, really beautifully.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. I mean, it all comes down to craft at a certain extent, right? I mean, that's why I'm in class weekly, except for the last year of COVID lockdown, obviously. But, you know, it's nice to reap some of the rewards and get the opportunity in a project like this to, like, really test yourself, right? And it was great to do that.
So speaking of testing yourself, you know, like you and Ry were staying in the same motel when you were here, thanks to the Quality Inn in Summerside for their generous sponsorship, for helping us out. Because it takes a community, it takes a village to make a film like this, especially a first feature on a low budget. And so, I mean, how did you guys approach each other? Because in the film, I mean, you're brothers and you had this childhood magic, but you didn't, as adults coming back together after many years, which is what happens in the film at the very beginning of the movie. You're not friends. So, I mean, how do you approach each other off screen, like in the halls at the hotel or whatever?
Right. Well, me and Ry actually had worked on a previous project, albeit on different days. So we never had any scenes together or stuff like that. We knew of each other, but we never had the opportunity to work like this close in terms of filmmaking and making a movie, for instance. So it actually, I think, worked in our favor. It was more of a blessing than a curse in this instance, because as the movie progressed, I think, you know, we were able to capitalize on, you know, just the nuance of life and just getting actually more familiar with each other and becoming more accustomed and sharing a beer at the end of the day back at the hotel and chatting. But at the same time, Ry jumped in. He didn't have as much time as I did to prepare and stuff like that. So giving him his space to really dive into what he needed to do and be respectful was top of mind for me as well. But I think it just worked. Actually, you know, the circumstances of his path to get here and my path to get here, and then, you know, knowing of each other, but never getting the chance to meet each other and work with each other officially. It just, the chemistry was there. And I think when you watch it, you'll see that.
Yeah, and then you had, to balance everything out, you had the wonderful Spencer Graham, and hopefully Spencer's watching. Hi, Spencer, if you're watching. We love you to bits. And as one of the reviewers said, I mean, there was that lovely balance there that Spencer really brought to the three Macaulay brothers, because he was the comic relief. And I have to give Spencer credit for, you know, he really took on Noah and very sometimes kind of ad-lib some lines, you know, and just very natural. And so it really balanced that intensity, I think, between you as Nikki and Ry as Jordy.
For sure. We each individually had our personalities and characters, but I think at the end of the day, I mean, definitely at the end of the film and what have you, the Macaulays are tighter than they ever have been.
Yeah, all for one, right? Talk to me about the idea of coming all the way to PEI to work with an absolutely unknown director. Like, there must have been moments of like, what am I getting myself into?
Not at all. I mean, at the end of the day, like, we put in so much work on our craft, and so being able to go away and actually execute that, I think that is a prize in itself. But it also helps in a sense because, you know, I got to go out there. We were in the hotel for like a month and just, you know, it was live and breathe Nikki for day in and day out. And so it actually, like, again, similar to Ry, it played in our favor, I think, as opposed to being able to come home at night, sleep in your own bed and vice versa. You know, I've gotten a chance to go away for different projects in the past, Chile and Bahamas and stuff like that. And that's all just, you know, a blessing and a bonus whenever you get the opportunity to do that. So I've never been out to PEI as well. So it was beautiful. I'd definitely go back in the summertime for sure.
I noticed you said the summertime because I mean, we were cold, right? We had days of being.
We hit it up. We were out there, the end of winter, early spring. So yeah. It was still cold.
It was cold. Yeah, it was right around this time that we were getting close to wrapping, I think. And I think we've seen like one day of sunshine here, but this year. Talk to me about the hockey, because like one thing I really respected about you, we were on hold for about a year before we were able to shoot, and you would post pictures on Instagram of playing hockey, and you know, we don't want to give away too many secrets, but at the same time, hockey was something that you did have to work on for Nikki.
For sure. Yeah. So giving me that extra year's time was again just great because it allowed me to get more ice time. I never grew up playing hockey. It was more just like shimmy on the street with friends or the odd time hitting the rink. I was never the strongest skater or such. So luckily where I live now, there's an outdoor rink in a park close by. So I took that full year to take advantage in the wintertime to go out there. And during the day, I was literally the only one on the ice. So
nice.
Good.
Kind of a special treat, eh? And then when you got here and you were on the ice, you had some support. The local guys. We had James Harper.
James, yeah.
Who totally stepped up. What's that?
I said, I'm sure he's watching. So shout out to James.
Hi, James. I mean, I live here, but I, rarely run into people. But yeah, James really stepped up. He brought a bunch of players to really support and give texture and background to this film. And like real shout out to those guys because they helped us with all the hockey, which I'd been to a lot of hockey games, but I knew essentially what I wanted to happen. I knew what kind of interactions had to happen between Nikki and Jordy, but right. I didn't necessarily understand the mechanics of the hockey. So James and all his players stepped up. So big shout out to those guys, and shout out to the people who sat in the audience in the stands and watched, because you need those people to help support you when you're acting in a feature film, and you've got to be Nikki, right? So I mean,
whenever I asked anybody, any of those hockey guys were willing and able to, give me a tip or a hint, or I think we even used one of them for a slap shot because I couldn't get the puck up off the ice. It was so bad, but it happens. That's what they're there for. And we had a lot of fun, like in between shooting and whatnot, breaks. I mean, we were doing shimmies, and it was just really fun. It was a lot of work on those 3 days when we were on the ice, but it was one of the best times filming for sure.
I have to say, like, I had moments as a director where I was a little bit jealous of all the fun that you guys had when you weren't kind of working, because I feel like I was always working because you're always there. And even when there's a bit of a downtime in between setups or whatever, I'm always looking at my notes and trying to figure out, exactly what's happening next. You always had to be on the ball. And, like you guys would have a beer in the motel after and stuff. And I was like, oh, I wish I could go and have a beer with them. So someday I think you guys all have to come back to PEI and we'll have a big reunion. Right. And we'll just have some fun, and we'll get the whole gang together, and or maybe we'll shoot something else someday. Like, who knows, right?
Oh, absolutely. Like you're building the industry out there. So, I mean, it's bound to happen.
We are, and we have so much support on PEI now. Renee Laprise, the Film PEI group, they're amazing. They're just running so many programs, and so if there are any Islanders out there who are wanting to direct feature film, or that would be my alarm. There's so much support now. There are programs that are happening. There's training that's happening, and I mean, it's a really incredible place to be. When I first came back from film school, I went to Vancouver Film School, 2008 as a mature student. There was nothing happening here then. And there was a group of us that got together and tried to make things happen. But I really believe that all things happen in their own time and when they're meant to. And definitely this feature film, Still the Water, happened when it wanted to happen and not a second before.
I remember the conversations we had talking about that.
Yeah, because you used to tweet me every once in a while. We'd talk over Twitter, and and we had conversations about that. And I think like that kind of faith takes you pretty far, I think. And I hope that the experience paid off for you, and that you had a good time on PEI. I hope you found a welcoming environment and all that. More than welcoming, probably some of the friendliest people I've ever met out there, just in terms of like every aspect, I'm glad to hear that. Did you have lobster when you were here? I did have lobster, I think, one night. Yes. A lot of seafood out there when I was there. I had to take advantage of it. And then when Nicole and I went to TIFF in Toronto and had dinner with you, we enjoyed having like a really nice Italian meal. And I think we did that a couple of nights, actually, didn't we? It was fun. So every city has its benefits, I guess. I want to ask you before we wrap, and we've got a couple minutes left. was there any part of the shoot that was uncomfortable for you, or in terms of what you were being asked to do as Nikki?
Not really. I think by the time we got around to shooting and all the conversations you and I had, I was in a good spot, you know, physically and mentally, and with my confidence in terms of what I wanted to try and execute and deliver and bring to the film. I mean, I think the toughest scene was probably the ending, the God scene, I would say, just and not necessarily mentally, but just physically, because we shot that at the end of a 13 or 14-hour day. And then where we needed to go was probably a little bit easier because we were just so exhausted, Ryan and I, from being on the ice, and that was our third and final day, and we crammed that in. But I wouldn't say there wasn't anything that I wasn't prepared for, I guess.
Yeah. And that was a tough scene. And just to give the viewers reference, and I don't want to give anything away, but you'll see a scene that takes place in a hockey rink. And we always refer to it as the God scene or the Godlight scene, because I'll tell you why. Because I went to church at St. Paul's in Summerside, Catholic church, for many years. And I can remember sitting there and looking up, and there was this, it always felt like there was an eye in the very top of the church. And it, to me, it was always, and it's probably meant to be, you know, God looking down or whatever. And that's what I wanted to convey in that scene. And I think the last reviewer, whose review I read, like really got that. Like he called the hockey rink a sacred place. And there's that line about that Jordy says about hockey rinks are like Catholic churches. They're the same wherever you go. And that line came from me. And when I was a single mom for many years, my son, Christopher, who's hosting us tonight, you know, we moved like 11 times in 5 years. We were all over the country. And I would go to church and the church would feel the same because, you know, the Catholic service was the same. And it was so comforting. And so that, just so you have that background, I don't know if we ever talked about that, but that is where that scene came from. So, yeah, for those of you who haven't seen the film yet, watch for that scene. And yeah, and you guys are in for a treat because Colin Price, our actor from Toronto, is just such a wonderful Nikki. You did such a fabulous job. That vulnerability that you gave us, you know, just in your eyes, and it was magical, and it's just such a special film, and you're a big part of that. So thank you, Colin.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity. I'm glad we're at this point now and at the finish line, releasing it to the world, because I know there's excitement in the journey to get there as well as filming it, but you know, also this is a big hurdle to get to as well. And so I'm excited to see the world and how they receive it.
Well, I know they're going to love you. So thank you so much. And maybe we will get to work together someday again.
Fingers crossed.
Come back to PEI and, you know, hopefully think the world will, you know, clear up and become a safer place, and you can come for a visit. We'll have a big reunion. So, all right. Thank you. And back to you, Christopher Rodgers.
That was lovely, guys. That was really nice. Good to see you guys having a bit of a reunion there. So what do we have next? We're just going to take a quick 2-minute break here. And up next, we're going to have Chris Ball, who's the cinematographer. So yeah, I really hope you enjoy that.
Sailed ships with the cowboys, and I never grow old. father was strong, and my mother was young. Fell asleep in the backseat till we got home. Pick me up, take me back where I belong. 'Cause I don't know anymore. I wanna go home. And the sea was my country, and the fields are my den. And I'd sail the clouds in the ship to get back again. Tell me, when did I grow old? Tell me, where can I go?
Hey, so hi everybody. Welcome back. Thanks for that, bearing with us there for that little break. And I hope you enjoyed that little clip that we just showed. And I do want to give a little shout out to Nathan Wiley for his song Home. That was so perfect in this clip because it started with when I was a boy, I had everything. I had silver and gold, which is essentially the spine of the film, trying to find the magic of childhood after a lot of trauma. And I have with me Christopher Ball. Great name, by the way. So I named my son Christopher. It's a good name. And I love that you're in your home theater, by the way. I just realized that when I looked up. Yeah. So this is a true film guy, you guys. And by film, I mean like actual, like kind of old school film, right, Chris? You've got a collection.
Yeah, I have a 35mm projector right over there, and 16 and Super 8 and everything else in between. I was actually hoping to have Still the Water playing on the screen, but it had to be on the same computer that I'm using for this. So.
Right. Well, maybe someday when things are good again, we'll have a reunion at your place. How's that?
That'd be great.
We'll get everybody together and watch the movie in your space there. So yeah, I think I mean, like, for people that don't know you, you've done a lot of pretty big movies. You worked on The Lighthouse, you worked on Aquaman, and I mean many other like great projects. What about our movie attracted you? Like, why did you decide that it would be worth taking a chance on, again, an unknown director over in Little PEI?
Well, I'm a filmmaker at heart, an independent filmmaker at heart, I guess. So I have a passion for independent film, and I have a passion for feature films. And so I do have a love of this type of project. I mean, you know, it's I guess part of it is that the bigger the project, in a way, the less, maybe to some degree, the less creative input you might have in a project. In a smaller project, you have a lot more creative input and a lot more involvement in sort of many aspects of the project. So that interests me. You know, so and I kind of like the spirit of these smaller independent films, and I am, as I'm sure you were as well, we're hoping for a theatrical release, of course, because that's part of the attraction of independent film, is you usually end up in a theater and you're sitting there with everybody watching the film with the whole audience, and that's the sort of the big reward. So that's a bit of a disappointment, but that, you know, that it's still, we've still made a great film, and people will see it one way or another. But that's also one of my incentives to work on these independent films. And when I talked with you over the, because it was a fairly long process getting this off the ground, obviously, which is the case with a lot of low budget films. Obviously we had a pretty good working relationship before we even started, because we talked about it for so long. So by the time it became real and became that it was going to happen, I already had a pretty good feeling about it. So
an intuitive feeling, right?
yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't sure what I was thinking. I was, I had a full-time job up to 3 weeks before we shot. So I think I was just like, okay, so we're shooting in 3 weeks at the end of it. But it was magical. I mean, there were so many moments on set that were magical. And I know that, I know that we had our challenges too, because, it's always hard. I think everybody runs into that challenge of, are we going to make our day? You've got so many scenes that you've got planned to shoot that day. You're on a very tight schedule. You have to stick with it. And, having you on board our film was such a gift, because you are so experienced and a very good troubleshooter. You have to be able to troubleshoot fairly easily, I think. And you have to be calm. And I think for me, I just want to say thank you, because being a first-time director and still so much to learn, it's just a gift to have someone there that you work, because the director works very collaboratively with the cinematographer. For those who are watching who aren't really sure exactly what the cinematographer does. And so you have to be working with somebody that you can work well, that you can communicate with. And would you mind actually just, for the people that aren't really sure exactly what a cinematographer does, would you mind just giving them just a quick little rundown and basically what your job was on Still the Water?
Well, ultimately, I guess the job of the cinematographer is to deliver the vision of the director, technically and photographically. So it's a pretty wide-ranging job. I mean, I'm ahead of the camera department, but also ahead of the lighting department. So my main jobs are composition, camera movement, and lighting, and basically coming up with the technical requirements that deliver the look that you wanted or that we talked about during the preparation of the film. So it's a there's so many aspects to it, it's hard to just quantify it, but I guess that's the simplest way to put it, is that it's really, the job is to deliver the photographic vision of the director. But it starts way early in prep, with early discussions on what kind of film are we making, what's the general look, what's the general approach, what are the technical challenges, what are the creative challenges, and there's so much that goes into that. And then the physical, getting on set and actually having to make all of those dreams come to reality when it's raining and it's supposed to be sunny, or something breaks down, or something doesn't show up, or whatever, so then it's troubleshooting and trying to make things work when things don't happen the way you wanted, and coming up with the best solutions, which it's a very much of a go, think, always on. You're always on, as you as the director are as well.
Yeah, and I mean, there's always a certain amount of planning that, I think the more planning that you have done, that you have prepped ahead of time, the more prepared you are to deal with issues if they do come up. But you can never count on things like the weather, as you said, although I think, in some ways the weather worked out in our favor, strangely, in terms of storytelling for this film. Like, let's talk about the clip that we just showed. Like, we had not just our actors out there in the freezing rain on that fishing boat, but I mean, we were in the freezing rain all day. It was pretty cold at times.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even as the director, I remember thinking a few times, oh my gosh, we have a few more shots we just have to get before we can leave, before we can head back in. And I know there's a picture kind of circulating around Facebook a little, with me in the stern of the boat wearing my son's snowsuit that he had when he was 14. That's still what I have, because it's warm and dry, and with my arms up, like this, because it was such a joyful feeling coming back in, and not just because it was cold and everything, but because it was just magical to be out there on that boat. But I mean, in terms of challenges for you, let's talk a little actually about, I mean, first of all, you're in the freezing rain out there, but we also had a long day ahead of us. We had to come in and park that boat, okay, dock the boat at in Summerside Harbor. And then we also had to do some shooting in a swimming pool. There was a bit of underwater shooting. And that's one reason why I reached out to you, Rick and I reached out to you, because we knew that you had experience shooting underwater. So, I mean, what was that like? Because it was cold. I think it was like +4 in the water. You were in the water and Ry was in the water, you know? So, I mean, what was that like? Even just the prep for that sequence and...
Yeah, I mean, that sequence was challenging because we couldn't shoot the whole sequence. You know, there is this a sort of an extensive, or not, there's a fairly extensive underwater sequence that I don't want to give too much away, so we won't talk about what it is, but it couldn't all be shot out at sea, partly the time of year, the temperature, putting an actor in the water out in the ocean, and not having the budget to have a huge, you know, diving team and all this kind of thing. So it had to be divided between the real water and then the harbor, where we had some control, but you could physically have the boat in the shot, and then the rest of it had to be done in a swimming pool. So you're kind of trying to make these 3 totally different places look the same, and that's always a big challenge. And then there's the underwater part of it itself, which was mostly done in the pool, but also some of it done in the harbor. And yeah, that is you know, a big challenge. We have to, with the pool, we had to put you know, black material in the pool so you don't see the pool tiles, and you have a sense of infinite depth that you're actually underwater in the ocean. And then we actually put little drops of milk and it turned out we used chocolate milk, I think, in the end, to give the pool a sense of atmosphere. And then you're transitioning from this really cold water to, you know, relatively warm pool water. So you're trying to make sure that, you know, from Ry's point of view, trying to make that continuity of action, because he was actually in the ocean when we went and filmed in the harbor. I mean, he was in the water in the harbor. So and that was very cold water. And you know, I'm a diver. You know, I'm used to it. I know what to expect. I can kind of mentally gear up for it. But for Ry, I'm sure it was a bit more of a challenge. And I was more concerned about the actor in the situation than I was about me, because I just know what, I'm just used to it and I know what to expect. But I was a little worried that you know, I wanted to make sure we got the scene, and it would be very easy for somebody not used to this to really kind of either panic or just say, I can't do it. I've had enough. But he was great, and he you know, he rose to the challenge, and we got a great sequence. So
yeah, I mean, he really stepped up, and we did have a safety diver there, just so people do know. We, you know, like, it was very important to all of us to make sure that we covered you know, as much of the safety aspects of the shoot as we could. And so we did have a safety diver, and he was fun. I mean, he was just bobbing around in his it was a dry suit, right? That's what
dry
he was
suit,
doing. Yeah, and he was just having a grand old time. But I have to say, like, I mean, that bit of shooting was the end of that very long day when we were on that fishing boat. And I mean, everybody was happy, because it's just, that's one thing I love about filmmaking is you get a chance to go out and do things that you wouldn't normally get to do. And, you know, despite it being cold and everything, it was fun being out on a fishing boat. But then, I mean, in the back of your mind, you're always thinking, you know, we've got to get this work done. And so, you know, that was a challenging scene, I think, to shoot dockside at the, you know, after being out on the boat all day. But so I was really glad when we were finished with that. And it was a lot more fun to go to the pool where it was dry and warm and well, humid, but at the same time, yeah, it was, and it's, you know, what's really interesting though. And I think that this is something that I'm kind of proud of, like with your work and just my vision for the film too, is that I've seen that film so many times now, and I'm still like, I'm in there with the characters. I'm in the drama and I'm watching what's happening and I'm in the moment. And sometimes I'll stop and I'll say after, like, wow, like like it really looks seamless to me. And you're probably looking at it with maybe a little bit of a more critical eye, but it feels seamless to me. The fact that, you know, that we've put everything together in such a seamless fashion. I don't know. I think that, you know, you've done your job when you can go back and watch it numerous times and never think about what was really happening on the day. You're actually like lost in the movie and in the story. So
one of the things I've always loved about film, and I think this is what captivated me when I was a little kid, because I started shooting movies on Super 8 cameras when I was like 9 years old. And
cool.
I was always interested in magic and magic shows. And I think ultimately that's what this is. It's a sleight of hand, right? So part of my job as the cinematographer is to execute the sleight of hand, to use all the tricks that we have to make people believe that this is a continuous event that's happening, even though it's shot in a swimming pool and out in the ocean and in a harbor, and the temperature of the water goes from 4 degrees to 20 degrees, and you know, and it's sometimes several days apart, and the weather changes, and you sort of use all these tricks to make it believable. And that I find quite exciting. Like, that's one of the things I love about film, is when you watch the film and you've done all this work and all this prep, and you watch the film and you go, it worked. And that's one of the big reward for me, is when I see a sequence that I feel was really successful, it came together the way we all hoped, and it really, really works, then I'm really happy. That's sort of a moment of excitement for me, I guess.
And you roll with the challenges pretty good too. Like I always kind of sometimes like the moments of, I don't know, even at the beginning of our little show tonight, like, it's like, okay, you know, just exhale and just, all right, you know, just sort of chill out. And instead of panicking, you know, you just kind of figure out how you're going to roll with that, and, you know, ride that wave essentially. And I think you like that challenge. I think you enjoy that. There's a little bit of a thrill in solving problems, don't you think?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, definitely. And sometimes when you're in the middle of it, you're thinking, how did I get to this point? What have I got myself into? But when you do solve the problem, it is kind of rewarding, actually. It's like, wow, I made it work. And, you know, I don't know how much time we have left, but one thing that I noticed when we watched that clip is that beautiful sunrise scene. And that was a bit of nature playing, you know, a bit of nature, luck with nature, because that was never, we always wanted a sunrise for setting day. We always wanted that perfect day for setting day, and we had to wait for it because setting day kept getting delayed. But when I saw the sunrise scene, I just remembered it was such that was a really big rewarding moment, because of course we had to drive out there at 4 a.m. We had to set up, we had to hope the boats were doing what they were going to do. We had to hope we were in the right spot, and we had to hope that the sun was going to come up, and it was perfect. Everything just fell into place. And then I remember at one point we realized that, oh my goodness, the boats are here, but to get the rest of the sequence, we have to have 700 meters over there on the other side of the sand dunes. And I just about killed Rick, I think, running across the sand dunes with all the gear. And we were all just so winded when we got to the other end. And we literally dropped the tripod, pointed the camera, framed it, started rolling, and the fishing boats came into view. And then the fox came into view at the same time. So
beautiful.
Moments like that, and you're out there and you're like, wow, it's all happening. It's all coming together. That's pretty rewarding too.
Yeah. And I had it pretty easy because I was across the channel at Twin Shores that day, standing on the deck of a cottage with the drone operator and trying to get those overhead shots. And then you guys all came back over and you were afterwards, and you were so excited because that silver fox had run through the shot, remember? And we thought that was magical, and definitely something, you know, definitely a sign, I think, because the team that our guys played on was called the Ice Fox. And the fox was a little bit of a theme for the film at times. And they said that was the best setting day in 40 years. So just the most, and the year before, if we had shot the year before when we had hoped to, I remember it was so windy, and it was just, we wouldn't have been able to fly a drone. Really somebody was looking out for us. We shot when we were meant to. Things happen when they're meant to. So thank you so much. And I hope that we get to work together again someday. I love your work. I love your lighting. Just, Yeah, and you're just such a calm presence on set. So thank you so
Right.
much. And thanks for doing this with us today too, Chris.
No problem. Well, I'd love to come back again. You have another
Yeah.
project. So.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And I think we are going to, I just have to look at my notes for a second. No, I think we're going to another clip right now. So yeah, we'll pass it off to the powers that be.
This is what happens when you make a script in Google Docs and you send it to your mother and she thinks that there's a clip coming up. There's not a clip, it's just me. I want to share a couple quick things with you guys. I loved that personally. I'm watching it along with you. I actually met Christopher Ball earlier today for the first time, and he's just the coolest. Like, I think it's so awesome that he's got a theater, and I don't know. It's very, very cool stuff. Either way, don't forget to follow us on social media. Still the Water Movie is on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And as well, also worth mentioning, of course, if you like Susan's writing and you like her work, you should definitely check out her Drifter series. She is a pretty prolific writer, and she's got, I think, I can't even remember, 15, 16, 17 books in this series. So if you enjoy Still the Water and you think that, you know, you just can't get enough, I would recommend. We have the first 3 books on screen there for you now, SusanRodgersAuthor.com, and you can check that out. Yeah, so we're just going to go to Be Right Back for a couple minutes. Maybe we'll take like a 2 or 3 minute break. You can get some snacks or replenish your drinks. And think about the deep and meaningfuls that Susan and Chris Ball shared. So back to that, and then we're going to meet with Ry in a little bit. So we'll see you soon.
Introducing tonight's Century 21 line of number 9, Josh Stafford. Number 74, Brett Irving. Number 4, Scott Richards.
So if you could be any bird that flew up in the sky, which one would you be?
I'd pick eagle. I know it's not a bird, but I'd be a pegasus. Maybe even an
Your
owl.
grandfather would just be a peg.
Wow.
Gee, now you're funny. Peg leg, get it? Exactly.
So, hi everybody, we're back. We are back with Ry Barrett. Welcome, Ry.
How's it going?
Good. So, if you've seen the film, you guys will know that Ry plays Geordie Macaulay, who is the very troubled middle child. And gee, I don't know why there's a troubled middle child in this movie, but I think I'm middle of my family, so I don't know. Must have come from somewhere. But I'm not troubled. I had a happy childhood. Lots of movies on the weekends, lots of matinees. We just watched the hockey scene, Ry. Tell me about those blisters, which I only found out about much later.
Yeah, it was, well, for one, I didn't really, I would have liked to have gotten in a lot better shape for those hockey days, but there just wasn't enough time. It was just a kind of a quick jumping into things and kind of getting it all together and doing the best that we could do. And yeah, it was, there were some long days on those skates, and I'm not actually a hockey player, and I hadn't been on skates in quite some time. So it was some pretty intense training quickly to kind of get. Colin actually got me up to speed with stuff too. He helped me out with a lot of it. But yeah, I think we basically walked away from those days, went back to our hotel room. I jumped into the jacuzzi at the Quality Inn, and I just stayed there for probably about an hour before I fell asleep afterwards.
Long day, while studying lines, of course, for the next day, right?
That was literally it. You go home, you nurse your wounds, you study your scenes, you have a glass of wine, you pass out, and you do it again.
Yeah, pretty much. That's filming a movie. And in some ways, this role was kind of unfair to you because you were brought in rather late in the game. And what was it like to get that email? I think it was probably about 3 weeks before we shot, and we didn't have our Geordie yet. We had cast somebody, but then we were delayed, and that actor went on to something else. And so I had originally auditioned you for Nikki, and then I don't know, there was just something pulling at me that said, Ry, you got to contact Ry. You have to contact Ry. And I did. So, I mean, what was it like that close to the shoot to get, a message that you're going to be coming, that like asking you to come to PEI to shoot a very challenging role, really, in, with an unknown director?
Well, first off, I don't think it was unfair. I think I was very lucky that you contacted me. And I was really happy that you did because, I was attracted to the role right off the bat, and it just had so many aspects to it that I love. I mean, the East Coast, PEI, music. I couldn't play hockey that great, but at the time I was like, oh, I can train. I can get better. And lobster fishing, everything about it I was interested in. So when I did get that email, and we were kind of going back and forth, and it was such a strange circumstance because we were like witnesses to like in a court case. So we were kind of waiting to kind of be brought in as witnesses kind of thing. So we're sitting in here dealing with this thing that we just didn't want to deal with at all. And then I was getting these good emails. So I was kind of reading those and being like, okay, well, there's the upside, the downside over here. Here's the upside. I'm like, I'm just going to focus on this for now. So I was really happy to get that to get the opportunity to come on board. And any challenges that come with anything that's last minute, you just kind of have to rise to whatever you have to pull off for it. And you know what, like if you just, if you look at it all and kind of compartmentalize and place it all where you need it, you can figure it out and just focus on what you need to. What I did was, because we were shooting the first few scenes were chronological in Geordie coming home. So I focused on that stuff right off the bat. And there was a bit of a break, and then we all came back to do everything else, which was kind of out of chronological order. Oh, sorry, my camera's shaking because my cat's attacking my camera right now. She was on camera before, but Jess, you just want to grab her? Sorry guys, this is what happens when you're live
TV.
Live, your cat wants to, yeah.
There she is.
Yeah. But yeah, it was just from that point on, once we went back to shoot the rest of it, that wasn't in chronological order. It was just a matter of focusing on what was coming first, but then going back and focusing on what those scenes were ahead of it, that kind of led into what the tones were and where the characters were all at and everything like that.
I just remember thinking, because you have a Summerside connection with Jess Van O, who Christopher and Jess actually were friends through the College of Piping, I think many years ago. So we kind of had that connection, which is another reason maybe why you sort of popped into my head. But I remember writing to her almost in a panicked email and saying, please tell me that he hasn't cut his hair, and please tell me that he skates. And then I think when you arrived, I think you actually went through a few pairs of skates because we needed to find some that fit properly, which probably exacerbated the blisters. And then what do? We take you out on a fishing boat, in the freezing rain and ask you to freeze all day. I remember you must have been like really cold that day, because I mean, we tried to keep you warm, but you're wearing this big wool sweater, but it was soaked, and it was a very physically challenging role for you. Not just physically challenging, but Jordy is a very emotional guy. I mean, that guy, he's at rock bottom, right? I mean, that guy's in a lot of pain, and I mean, what was that like? You didn't have a lot of prep time for the physical stuff. You didn't have a lot of prep time, to really get to know Jordy. But and what's it like living with that kind of pain when you're playing that kind of a character for what were we 23 days, I think the shoot was. So you're living with that. Like, what's that like? Can you let that go at the end of the day?
Yeah, I mean, like with every role, everything is you kind of approach everything. I mean, personally, I approach everything kind of with a different method of how to tackle a character or a situation, or for one, like the setting, being on Prince Edward Island, and the island itself being a character in the film kind of helps you kind of get there right off the bat. And then I don't know, I just really related with Jordy. It being a story about family and brothers and tragedy, and having been through some pretty tough things myself shortly before taking the role on and being there, I just kind of, I don't know, I just really related with it, and I tried to take as much of those experiences myself and kind of live in that moment and breathe it. And yeah, like heavy characters like that, like when it's a really emotional and really restrained, like he wants to rebuild and fix everything, but it's so hard for him, and he's holding so much inside and everything. And I could actually, at that time, I could really relate with that. That was I was basically kind of going through it myself. So a lot of that, basically, I just tried to relate as much of that, just bring it out in myself and into Jordy, and hopefully I just hope that people kind of would relate with that too, and feel the same kind of things. I mean, it is such a relatable. I think everybody has had tragedy and issues with their families at certain times, and like coming from a great family, there's still issues, there's still things that happen and stuff like that, and we all can relate with that. And then having to get through it and be stronger for it, and be stronger with your family for it and with other people. So yeah, it was tough, but I actually really enjoyed it and found it extremely cathartic, really.
Oh, that's good. That's interesting. And I think for me too, and one thing that maybe makes this film stand out a little bit is that, we were able to bring that vulnerability of these big tough guys, you know, to the surface, and let them be vulnerable and let them show their pain and share their pain. And you know, I feel like in my writing, I always want there to be a message of healing and forgiveness and just, you know, reconciliation. And I mean, you guys really stepped up, like even like, I'll say even Spencer, who was, you know, kind of the comic relief a little bit. He didn't have you know, quite as overtly heavy a role to play, but he still was, you know, that character, that brother that had to, he always had to try to be the tough guy. And there's that moment at the rink, I just love it, after you and Nikki, I don't want to give too much away either, but you know, things happen at the rink, and Noah leans up against the glass and puts his hand up, and just how he was able to convey that, you know, that emotion and all the heaviness of what he was feeling with, you know, his family. You know, I mean, it's such a joyous thing when you know, the prodigal son comes home, but then, you know, things fell apart. And so, I mean, like, they were just, I really enjoy writing those layers, I think. And I think, you know, you really delivered. So thank you. And thank you for stepping up to, you know, all those challenging physical bits as well. Was there a moment during the shoot that that you would identify as the most difficult moment for you as an actor?
Yeah, let me get to that quick first, because I want to kind of ask you a little bit of a question too. So
Sure.
Going back to the whole, you really just like, as a woman, as a writer and the director, you really wrote something that was totally about male fragility, and like the machismo that comes around like sports and the you know, just men at work and all that sort kind of thing, where we don't often talk about our feelings or share our feelings. We kind of hold it inside and that sort of thing. So I was just wondering, like, how you kind of had that idea and then pulled it out of you. And I think you must have seen it, or you must know it very well, because you showed it so well in the film through us.
I think, I mean, by the time I wrote Still the Water, I had written 15 Drifters books about, you know, a guy named Josh, another J name, who's a pretty broken guy. And you know, and I mean, a woman too, because Jessie, the, you know, the, I don't know if you can see my tattoos, but got Jessie over here. You know, like in the Drifter series, like she lived through a lot of tragedy and a lot of darkness. So, I mean, I kind of had explored a lot of that, I think, through that series, that book series. And because I mean, my new screenplay too, Christian's Cross, one of the two new ones, you know, it's also about men kind of trying to come back together. But I know so I don't really know other, like, where that came from, but I know in my life, like, one of the seeds for Still the Water actually came from taking my son, who was 4 years old at the time, to a hockey game in Peterborough. And I had just separated from my husband. I was living alone. I knew one person in the whole city. Like, it's hard even to talk about, because it was a pretty dark time. And but I remember sitting there in the rink, and, you know, I guess the game wasn't that exciting, and my imagination wandered, and I started thinking about the characters. And so, I mean, maybe some of that came from that divorce, that marriage breakup at the time. I'm not sure. But I still seem to want to write about it. So I don't know, maybe I need to explore that in therapy.
Well, you know what? Maybe your writing into filmmaking is your therapy. I mean, I think acting and writing, everything is a therapy for myself too. So
yeah,
yeah.
Well, I hope, as I said to everybody, I mean, we had such a magical team. We really did. And, you know, I hope that we all kind of get to work together again someday. And when the world rights itself again. And, you know, and I hope that you guys can get to PEI this summer. It must be very hard for you and for Jess, I'm sure.
Yeah, we can't. She's really missing home right now. And we're, I mean, she's fully in contact all the time with family and friends and stuff, but there's you just want to go, you want to visit everybody. I miss my family so much too. And I just want to visit and see all my friends, and it is what it is. Right. But I think we're getting closer.
Well, big PEI hugs to all of you, and especially a big Summerside hug to Jess. And on that note, I'm going to ask Christopher to start Lennie Gallant's music video, which is shot, just a little preview, I guess, at one of my favorite places on PEI, which is a place at Twin Shores Campground where I camp in the summer, and it's called Secret Beach by the seasonal campers, but I always call it Sacred Beach because sacred things happen there, and it's just a beautiful spot. So you guys hopefully can enjoy this music video with a little slice of beautiful Prince Edward Island in the summer. And you know that cliff well because you might have stood there during part of the movie. So
I was there, and it's a great song. I love it.
Thank you, Ry.
What is this thing that pulls me like I'm on a turning tide? I drift so far away, then I'm drawn back to your side. A weary voice, a breath of wind, a freezing on my skin. That moment when the ice cracks just enough to let you in. Blood and salt water, spirits of old, something familiar stirs in my soul. Blood and salt water, I can still hear the song you were singing about why we are here. I thought about it all night, and I still can't figure out why I can't forgive, and why I can't just shut my mouth. I look into your eyes and I can see the chains on me. They're on you too, but maybe we could set each other free. Blood and soul water, spirits of old, something familiar stirs in my soul. Blood and soul water, I can still hear the song you were singing about why we are here. and salt water, spirits of old, something familiar stirs in my soul. Blood and salt water, I can still hear the song you were singing about why we are here.
Wow. I feel kind of silly following that up, actually. Thank you, Lennie. It's a beautiful song. It's amazing. Music video is gorgeous. So this is my last little check-in. I just wanted to once again remind everyone to, if you don't already, follow us on social media. So we're gonna have, hopefully more live events over the next couple of months, and it would mean a lot to us. This is really how independent film works, as much as I understand it. I'm not an independent filmmaker, but watching it all happen, obviously, Susan is my mom, by the way, if you haven't pieced that together, but the amount of work that everyone has put into this is absolutely astounding. And, I think we all want to see them do it again. So if there's anything that you can do, it's to share the social media, go watch the film, rent it or buy it. You can tell other people to rent it or buy it. It's really up to everyone to help out and support independent film. So please do that. Next, I have a thank you slide. Thanks for all of you coming out, but also thanks to everyone who's live on location right now at Bogside Brewery in Prince Edward Island. So shout out to Bogside. Thank you so much for hosting. There's probably a million other people that need a thank you. And time is limited, but I'm gonna keep moving on. As well, if you like this live stream, this is the really self-serving part. Humblehound, this is me. This is my company, solving problems with pretty things. I do live streams, social media management. I make websites for people, small businesses, and independent artists are who I like to work with. So if that's you, chris@humblehound.ca, just drop me a line. We can hang out and chat about that. Enough about me. Last but not least, we are going to have, I think, the coolest part of the whole live stream, which is a live Q&A. So we're going to bring everyone back. I'm not going to be on screen, but you'll hear my voice, and I'm going to be monitoring the chat. So I know some of you asked some questions on Facebook earlier today, which is great. So I'll try and pull some of those. But if you have a question for someone, whether it's Chris or Ry or Colin or Susan, just throw it in the chat there on YouTube. And maybe we can get your question answered, I hope. So with that, I'm going to go set that up. We're going to go to Be Right Back. So grab another drink, grab some snacks. We'll be back in like 2 minutes. All right, we're back on. Everyone's here. So let me just get set up here and make sure I'm not. I think my voice might be repeating. Actually, here, one second.
It was fun.
Thanks. Yeah, it was fun. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers. I need another dark and stormy.
Yeah.
You too.
Watching.
Thank you, son. Son who I haven't seen in 2 years because of COVID. Oh, okay. I mean, I guess I mentioned that a little bit in talking to Ry at the hockey rink. Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't remember this because you were like 4 at the time, but when I separated from your dad, I felt like, you know, I had to be the dad. So I took you to a hockey game. And yeah, and my imagination just kind of wandered. And I think there was actually a player on that team called Geordie, but his name was spelled with a G, Geordie. But yeah, I don't know. I don't remember more than that. I remember, you know, my Drifter series had the book series I wrote had been in my head for like 20 years. And you know, even if I had a stressful time, I would sort of sink into that story because it calmed me to go back and just kind of hang out with those characters, which I thought was really unhealthy. Never thought I'd ever admit that in public. I thought it was the only person that ever did that, but probably every writer does that. And the only other story that ever sort of set Drifters aside really was the story about these Macaulay brothers. So it was a story that needed to be told, I guess, and it just evolved. Oh, am I muted still? Now or anything coming up for the summer?
Yeah, it's gearing up to be very busy.
Good.
We've got 4 projects that I know of right now, possibly a 5th. So it's looking really busy. They're mostly American shows. There's 1 Canadian show, I think, which is Feudal coming back. And then there's oh no, there's 2. There's oh, I'm terrible with names coming off the top of my head. The one about the lawyer in Dartmouth.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean too. Diggsville or something.
Digstown
Digstown.
is they're coming back, yeah. And then there's a couple of really big American, or one big American series and one sort of medium big American series. So.
Like a Stephen King show, I think is shooting out there soon, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not Stephen King, but it's the same producers that did Chapelwaite.
Oh, right.
So it's very Stephen King-like from what I've heard, the storyline on it. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Feudal, is that the one that takes place at a resort?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
That's supposed to be coming back, and then there's some independent stuff that's rumored to be happening too. One which I can't really talk about much yet, but I might be doing. But it's sort of down the road.
Like a film, you mean, a feature? Or?
Yeah.
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 All right, we got the train back on the rails here, I think. Confirmation from the chat that we're being heard again. So thanks everyone again for being really patient with us while I figure this out. Yeah, so we're gonna go back to Patricia Roy has a question in the chat again for Susan. It says, where did the story of the two brothers come from? I know you said it evolved. So could you talk more about that?
I don't know if I remember. To be honest, I don't know. It just evolved. I mean, usually what happens with me is if there's a seed of a story, I usually play music and go for a long drive and before I know it, it just kind of, I don't know. It's usually the music that brings the story out of me, I think. So I don't honestly remember, other than probably a lot of drives and a lot of pondering and a lot of the characters trying to find their own way, I think, probably. Sometimes it's the characters that lead you when you're a writer, and Patricia's a writer, so she probably experiences the same thing. So yeah. Great. I'm going to flip over to JP McGraw, who has a number of really good questions, all coming from Facebook. This one's for Colin. What's next on your acting agenda?
What's next on my acting agenda? To be determined. Right now, with lockdown and everything that has happened the past year, obviously the industry has, it's not moving at the pace that we are accustomed to, but thankfully in Toronto, the industry has been able to go, and I have had a few auditions recently and stop tapes that I have sent in. So fingers crossed, we'll see what happens. You know, nobody can predict. I mean, auditions come in so last minute. 1 week I could, you know, think nothing's going to happen for all of summer, and the next minute I could be out to GI. So
come back.
Life moves pretty quick. Sometimes when you're an actor, and being able to adapt and pivot is one of those things that you grow accustomed to. Hopefully something soon though, fingers crossed. Hopefully. Fingers crossed. I like it. This one is, I'm going to do one more for JP McGraw because they just have so many good questions. So for Ry and Colin, what was the most challenging part of your filming process for this movie? So maybe we'll start with Ry first, since you just answered Colin.
I guess we chatted with Susan briefly about too, like the just kind of jumping into it, and I personally I love to have a lot of time to prep and put stuff into it, but I also love the challenge of not having that time and having to figure out a new way to make it work. So I think that would have been the biggest challenge, just because it's such a versatile film. Like we started out on the ice, and then we were on like the shores of Darnley, and some days were gorgeous and other days were completely freezing cold and ice sleeting down, but the weather always kind of like helped the visual, so you just kind of had to deal with it, because you're like, it looks great, so let's work with it. And then you end up in the Atlantic Ocean one day, so like it was just the combination of kind of going through all of those things and trying to keep pace with it, and not wanting to let everyone down, because like you feel so strongly about the the film and the material yourself, and you see everybody else putting so much into it. And like Susan she was working so hard and she got sick during the shoot too. And everyone was just trying to like do their best. So that was the hardest thing, just trying to do my best and not let anybody down, and, you know, just flow with it.
I got sick from shivering, I think. I shivered so much, I got sick.
Sorry. Sorry.
I love the cat keeps reappearing magically.
That's the other one. That's
nice.
Yeah.
How about you, Colin?
Probably what Susan asked originally, I guess, if I was to circle back and touch on that. I mean, acting is so expressive, but Nikki was so internal that, you know, limiting yourself in terms of, you know, any forms of expression and things like that was a new card that was kind of dealt to me in that sense. So being able to internalize things, but still being able to come across a thought or idea and emotion and all of that was a challenge in that respect. And then living up to the demands of just, you know, fulfilling the words and the idea that Susan had on the script, and also being there for Ry as a partner and being in that moment and being able to let that scene breathe and live. So that's probably the most challenging, because everything else I can prepare for, and that's on me. That's not on anybody else.
Nice. Thank you. Here's one for Chris, who's been standing by patiently. I really like this question, actually. I feel like I have all the control because I get to choose the questions. So Joe Mahoney asks, Chris, who is your favorite cinematographer? What are your favorite looking films?
Good question.
Oh boy. That's a big question. I'm terrible at coming up with names off the top of my head. Of course, I have names right here, and I can never bring them out. But I mean, Roger Deakins is obviously up there. I've always loved Coen brothers, and he's been always a part of that. And I guess that's one of the aesthetics that I often look to, is that kind of Coen brothers, that, you know, it's got a quirkiness to it, but it's always very real and very natural looking. And so I guess that's one. I always find this question really hard, because there's so many, like, you know, are you talking drama? Are you talking documentary? Are you talking horror films? Are you talking, you know, there's sort of a different cinematographers or different things, different examples that I can think of all the time. But I don't know. That's a hard question to answer. I should have been more prepared for that, because people do often ask me that. But I like a pretty wide range of films as well. So it's not, I don't really have like one style that I would always try and emulate. You know, I love David Lynch films. One of my, you know, favorite films is Lost Highway and things like that. So I don't know. That's a hard question to answer. I don't have one favorite cinematographer, put it that way. I have quite a few. I don't know if that answers the question or not. But.
I think it's as close as we can get. I feel you on that. Though I'm actually curious to ask my own question, which is there a style that, you know, you mentioned all the different genres. Is there a genre that you prefer, that you feel you enjoy shooting the most?
Don't think I've ever been asked that question specifically. I guess it's, you know, again, I kind of harken back to Coen brothers. I guess that would probably be, if I had a dream, it would be to shoot a Coen brothers movie, tell you, put it that way. Because I've always liked that it's very filmic. Like they use, what I like doing is using the tools of filming in very kind of creative ways, like what you use for the camera, where you position the camera, how you design the shot. I like it to be kind of designed, and I like to really think it through as much as possible and have a design and then an execution in place. So I like that kind of that. I don't know what you'd call it. It's sort of a quirky style, but it very much utilizes the tools of filmmaking, I guess, to I'm not answering this very well because I can't put it in words very, very easily, but I don't know. It's the magic show part of it too. I guess I could maybe say, you know, what I don't like, or the approach that I don't like would be to, you know, just to sort of capture things wildly and, you know, just roll the camera endlessly and see what you get and then figure it out later on. I always like to have more of a plan and a thought process in place, and a sort of a creative design, I guess.
Thank you. Appreciate that. We're going to go back to Susan for a minute. This is a fun question. I think I know the answer, but, you know, why did you choose Prince Edward Island?
Oh, in other words, to set the story here. Interestingly enough, when I originally wrote or started thinking about it, I was living in Ontario. So, but I think it was always a Prince Edward Island story. I mean, the fishing village, like the island is a character in this film. And, you know, you have that small town feel. And, you know, I mean, I guess, you know, aesthetically wanting to really use the geography of the land in the film, it just always made sense to shoot here. But I mean, also, you know, even though I wasn't born in Prince Edward Island, I moved here when I was 4 months old, so I consider myself a Prince Edward Islander. So it was important to me to shoot a feature in this little land where I grew up. And also, I mean, there haven't been many features that have come out of Prince Edward Island. And I guess I've got a little bit of a pioneer spirit in me too. I wanted to prove that it could be done, put it that way. And it was challenging because the crew here, they don't have much opportunity to practice. I had a local actor messaging me this morning saying, you know, where can I practice my craft? I really want to act. I'm driven to act, but there's, you know, where am I going to practice? And it's the same for crew. It's pretty tough. And I mean, all of you guys, you know, really rose to the challenge of working with a crew that was very passionate, including myself as a new director too. But, you know, doesn't have a lot of opportunity to practice. And so there's, you know, there was some training and stuff that was happening. So it was very important to me to shoot the film here for all of those reasons, I guess. And I'm really glad we did. And I can't wait to shoot more on beautiful Prince Edward Island.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
So we're gonna wrap it up here maybe with this last question, but we'll do like a round robin with everyone. I don't know if that's the way to say that, but it's a good one. This comes from Kathy Gillis. Kathy asks if you could say one thing, what is the one thing that you learned or took away from the shoot or participating in this film? And maybe we'll start with Colin, and then we'll do Ry next, and then Chris and Susan.
On the hot seat, Colin.
In one word?
No, sorry, not in one word. If there was one thing that you could, you know, I'm sure there's lots of experiences that you had. If you could say this was the one big takeaway for me, whether it was about your character or you know, just participating in the movie in general.
I'm gonna rock with the theme of the movie. I think if people can buy into the theme of the movie and the idea that forgiveness is possible, and you know, are drawn and all of that by watching the movie, that you know, if you can reach out to somebody that maybe you had a difference with, or you know, life is short, man. So why not resolve any differences and whatnot, and take from that what you can, and live the best life you can with the people that mean the most to you. And so if I had to learn that through a movie, so be it. But it was a hell of a journey making it, and I think the lesson from that movie itself is universal, and maybe that's why we're in 68 countries today. So cheers to everyone on that.
Nice. Ry, you're up.
Colin just said the best answer though.
Yeah, that's true actually.
Like I agree 100%. To go in another area, I think like as far as like just film like as an actor and filmmaking, just for this project, it was something that was I mean, I've done, I don't know. I think like the subtleties of it, like the subtleties in it, like Susan really knew that she wanted to, like, you know, bring things back at certain levels and stuff like that. And I really liked using that as an exercise to kind of draw from, it's my cats again. Just to use subtleties and to not have to go big, and to really kind of pull things back, and to really, you know, like live in the moment of the scenes and everything, and really just kind of you know, work with your surroundings and everything. It was really great experience that way. I think what I'm trying to say is, because this film was shot in so many different locations, and it was really ambitious that way, for not being a big like Hollywood production or like anything like that. It was hugely ambitious to shoot at so many locations, and to be there, and to live in the moment of those locations, and to kind of you know, subtly let those places breathe through you, and use that through with the character, I guess. But what Colin said.
I love that. I love that. It's like the brotherly rivalry continues, right? Let's go to Chris. You can let me know if they've said it all. Then I've got another really good question for you, but let me know.
Well, they kind of have said it all. I mean, the only, I guess, from the other perspective of the shooting side of it is it was an extremely challenging project for its budget level, and a very tiny crew. Again, for the challenges that we had a really tiny crew. But there were so many good memories of people just pitching in and making it work one way or another. And that's, you know, there wasn't any resistance. It was like, okay, we got to do this, and so let's just figure out how we're going to do it. And it was great working with everybody. I just have a lot of good little memories of moments here, there, and everywhere of people just being passionate, pitching in, and making it work. And that was I guess a good memory, or a good takeaway from it.
That's great. Thank you.
My cat.
Obviously, yeah, it's like cat hour here. Last but not least, yeah.
It's up to me, I guess. You know what? I want to recount one moment that was a big takeaway for me on this movie. And it was after the very last shot. And I mean, I was pretty sick by then from all the shivering, and I threw, like, my back was spasming, and it was painful, and, you know, and long days, and I don't know, but still, you know, the magic was ever present, I thought. And the last shot, if you guys will remember, was Nikki, so Colin. We were at Provincial Boat and Marine in Kensington, and it was, I remember you kicking the garbage can. It had to do with a knife, without giving too much away. You remember that? I remember, Yeah, and I think you cut yourself too, because you're like, I won't say what you did, but I remember very quietly Colin comes up to me and he's like bleeding. It's like, what happened to you? But walking away after we had our little final, teary-eyed sort of hugs and wow, we did it. We've got this film in the can kind of thing. Walking away, going through the parking lot, because we went back to have a few beverages and stuff, but a friend who's no longer with us, Jake Surrett, who was our on-set wardrobe person, part of the team with Lisa Carbone. But Jake and I were walking together, and we lost Jake just about a year ago. And this moment stood out for me for so many reasons. But anyway, he was crying, and I said, Jake, why are you crying? Why are you crying? And he turned to me and he said, because working on this movie made me feel alive. And I think, sometimes, especially living in a small place like this, sometimes you have to really reach for those moments. And especially, me as a writer too, I'd written a lot of books in a lot of years, in 4 years or whatever, spent a lot of time alone. And being out on set, going through my head, I think, was a lot of the challenges that we've been through. And I felt kind of guilty, for the long days and for not having the bigger budget to bring in the bigger crew, and all those things were weighing on my mind. And then to have Jake say to me, you made me feel alive again by letting me work on this film. It was just one of those, sort of almost shattering moments when you just, everything else falls away. And you say, this is why it matters. This is why we make films. And it's everything. It's not just the storytelling, it's all the behind the scenes stuff with the crew and the friendships that you make and all of that magic. So, that's my takeaway is, and I'm going to remember that, and I try to remember that with every project I work on now, is to just, even if there are challenges, just to remind yourself to find the joy and remember why you're doing it. And and just feel it and enjoy it. So, here's to you, Jake.
Here's to Jake.
Here's to Jake.
What a beauty. What a beauty.
Great guy. Here's to Jake.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
Special guy.
That's it for questions. Thank you very much. All the cast and crew here. I'm just going to pop back to the Chris cam for a second. That was really amazing. Thank you everyone on YouTube for joining us and sitting with us while I figured out all the technical difficulties. Really appreciate your patience. It was cool for me. I wasn't there for the filming of Still the Water, and it's really cool being involved in the marketing and stuff after the fact to hear all these stories as well. So that was really awesome. To wrap up the live stream today, we're not going to be back, but we wanted to share behind the scenes documentary made by filmmaker Alan Lau about making Still the Water. So we're just going to let that roll. And when it's done, you can hang out, you can enjoy that. We'll be in the chat. We'll try and get everyone that you met today in the chat and hanging out with you. So thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate it.
Just welcome everyone. Thank you for helping us out with our little indie film, and I just can't tell you how much it means to me. I think we have the best team, the best crew on PEI. Maybe in Canada, maybe in the world, because it's PEI, so everyone's friendly and nice, right? So all I ask is that everybody just really try to enjoy the shoot. Please treat each other with respect. There's going to be times that things are going to be a little bit hairy, but just take a breather, walk away if you need to, and half the fun of doing this is overcoming challenges. So we're fluid, we're ocean people, we're just gonna roll with it, right? We're gonna just, surf those waves. We can handle it.
That's to go to the
We're rolling? Yep. Slate? Scene 1, shot alpha, take 1. Okay. Yep.
And frame.
And action.
Hi, I'm Susan Rodgers, and I was the writer, director, and one of the producers of this movie, Still the Water. I wanted to do Still the Water was because it felt like a project that I could shoot in Prince Edward Island, for one. And it was also a really captivating story, very much a Prince Edward Island story. So I think that's why I wanted to do it first.
Susan, so you want the camera like right down here, and then it's too wide. You have to cut it
No, it's locked in position. Okay.
Scene 1, shot July, take 2.
And set.
And action.
The whole story started with Geordie. And he's the troubled middle brother. So I have to say that he was probably my favorite from the beginning, and he's still my favorite. And I think the reason is that there's just something about learning about people that are, in pain and, trying to figure out why they're in pain and trying to figure out how you can help them.
So you can just take your hat off. I'm going to see if I can just put it up more.
Okay. It just said that I don't need to hand them my receipts, and I said, it said if you need them, and I said I'm going to need that for the next one later, the order shit. And she's like, okay.
Just and that's a shot. And then we're going to move camera here, and that's when he buys the beer. But I think the best thing would be for you to be behind counter anyway. Just kind of be there in case we do see kind of your reflection. So this was mine, and I left it there. Yeah, so
let's hop out in the truck and around behind here and maybe find yourself some action that you're doing kind of while you're waiting and look at camera. Okay, everybody good? First positions, please hold the door for 1 minute. Fine, wait 1 second. All right, let's roll sound. Roll camera.
Oh, yeah.
Speeding. 3 Bravo 3.
And frame.
Action.
Good.
I'm Ry Barrett, and I play Geordie Macaulay, the middle son of the Macaulay clan. I really enjoy the role. It's a big challenge. There's a lot of different elements and layers to it. Not only there's a lot of physical elements to it,
but emotionally and mentally, it's very layered and deep. And it's something I can connect with on a personal level. I come from a family of three, a little sister and an older brother, so I know how a family like that can work, and the struggles and the hard times that sometimes come with it, and all the good times and all the good memories. So it's something I can relate to a lot.
There we go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. Let's roll sound.
Speed.
Roll camera.
Camera rolling.
23 Alpha, take one. Action background.
And frame.
And action. And cut.
Does that feel too tight?
That's feeling tight. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Too abrupt.
So maybe we go. Next line's up to 50, right? 55. Or no, do we have a? No, we don't. Pretty sure it's 50. 50. So I guess we'll just go closer on a 50 then. So it'll probably be. Okay, so it'll probably be more in here, I guess. More like that, right? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Just a little breathing room.
And then there's no move here, right? He'll just walk up and then he steps back.
And then he'll walk out just
Yeah,
like he just
right.
did.
Okay.
Well, I would say the hockey scenes were the hardest. And I think the whole week I kept saying to the cinematographer, Chris, I kept saying, I'll be glad when the hockey scenes are over because it was like a lot to coordinate. And I just had to kind of settle myself and look at my notes and look at the script and say, okay, this is what I really need from this scene. And whether it was Jordy getting tripped or somebody scoring a goal or whatever, I had to make sure that that was the central part of the scene and what we really needed to get shot and sort of build out around that, if that makes sense. And so we had like the core actors doing what they needed to do, and then we had to think about like what the other hockey players would be doing. So, and I found it was just a lot of people and a lot of coordinating, but we got really lucky in that we had some terrific volunteer hockey players who really helped us because they knew hockey. They knew the game better than I knew the game. So I was able to say to them, help me, how would this normally happen on the ice? And they really made the process a lot easier.
Been fan on that.
So that's good. So you guys will just kind of just do a bit of that kind of action.
Yep.
And then these guys when they come out, they quick can happen right at the bottom of that rectangle there, I think.
Like tackle phone?
Yeah.
Yep.
So I think that you guys would all notice like when the trip happens.
Well, we'll keep an eye out for it, and then we're just gonna we'll look and go like this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then just keep doing what you're doing. And then at some point, hopefully Mark and Jordy will see the so we just kind of start with that when we call action, we can do that kind of way. And so when the tripping happens, we want it to kind of happen just at the bottom of this blue rectangle.
Yep. Roll camera.
Camera rolling. 1 second. Focus. There we go.
35 Alpha, take one.
Frame.
Action. Action background, action back.
I haven't played much hockey before. Hopefully, I look like I played hockey. I mean, I played as a kid. I played nothing competitive, and I hadn't played for years. I hadn't even been on skates for quite some time before getting the role, and I got the call that I had the role. There was not a lot of time before shooting, so I had to do as much to get in shape and to train for that as I could in a small amount of time. So yeah, it was a challenge at first, but then I felt the more that we were on the ice and the way that it was shot and everything, I felt a lot more confident as it went along. So yeah, that was another challenge.
Back, another good one. Yeah. And then I can kind of turn to look at you. That might be good. Okay. So I'll do 2, and then the look. And that'll give you like a good spot.
2 what?
I'll go like back like that.
Yeah.
Back again.
Okay.
And then on the second one, I'll turn like this.
They have to have a
And go forward then. And
before
so
we-
reverse through the door. There's a big latch.
All right, let's go, folks. We're down. 44, Charlie, 1.
Take a break. Take a break.
Hi, my name is Colin Price. I am playing the role of Nicky McCully in Still the Water. Nicky he's complicated. He's layered, he's challenging. There's not much that he says. He doesn't talk a lot. So being able to execute his feelings and where he is mentally, emotionally, spiritually at times perhaps can be, I mean, that's a challenge, and I was up for that.
The day that we were on the fishing boat, oh my gosh. That was a long, long day and a cold, really cold, wet, almost freezing rain kind of day. But it was also, as hard as it was, I think it was everybody's favorite day on the whole shoot. Because there was just something fun about being out in the water on a boat.
Yeah, shooting on the boat was a cold day. It could have been a warm and sunny one. The water could have been warmer, but the look of it, the rain, the weather that we had, it really all added to what the scene is about, and I think it really helps the atmosphere and the tone of that scene now. So it became something totally different. I mean, I wouldn't say totally different, but it plays on what it should be. So I think it ended up being what it should be, despite the challenges and the cold and the rain and everything that we endured that day.
Nicky, LeClaire, get him out of there. Get him the hell out. Nicky, let him go. Just let him go.
Oh, that's remembering. Yeah, that's remembering.
Nicky to LeClaire. Knife, I need a knife. Nicky, damn it, Jordy, damn it.
That's after it falls, yeah. Right?
Yes.
After
The
it
knife falls, then it's damn it, Jordan.
The knife
So we're
falls.
picking it- we're
Nikki
picking it
grabs
up.
at it, hanging.
We're picking
Leclerc
it up
runs for
after
the knife
Leclerc,
down the
Leclerc.
wheelhouse, hanging on to Jordy with one hand. Nikki grabs it.
Yeah.
Damn it,
And he's
Nikki,
probably
Jordy,
just like,
stand
Nikki.
up.
Get it? It drops. Leclerc, get me a knife.
I'm kind of angled like that.
Right? He comes back and then you're like, get him out of there. And then it's just whatever it is in the
You
moment.
come back when he's having his moment of looking up at the sky and kind of closing his eyes. He's like, get him out of there, get him out of there. Bam. Yeah.
Soak it in. It's gonna soak that heavy. How's it feel? Not too bad? Is it coming in through the wetsuit right now?
Yeah, it's coming in slowly.
Cold, eh? She's cold. Yeah? Oh, she's cold. Touching the bottom right now?
Yeah.
How do you feel buoyancy-wise? Do you feel like you're floating?
Yeah, I'm pretty much floating right now.
Floating?
Yeah.
I want you to just lay on your back. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I'm good, man.
Got it?
Give me a knife! Give me a knife! Oh, hang on! Hang on, Jordy! Jordy, here! Jordy, stay with me, buddy. You got this. You got it? Got it? Here. That's, give me your hand! Give me your hand! Jordy! Give me your hand! Give me your hand! Give me your hand, Jordy! Give me your hand!
I think that we were really lucky to have the cast that we had on this movie because, again, we weren't, able to pay like a really high wage, and they jumped on board and paid, either with points or whatever, paid their own airfare to get here because our budget was so low. They put so much work into their roles, like every one of them. Every one of the cast. I could tell I had meetings with them before, and we rehearsed and everything before we ever went to camera. And I could tell that they had all done the research. They had all really worked hard on their characters, and it showed. So, yeah, I thought everyone was great. As far as like Jordy and Nikki, Ry and Colin, they, I didn't know either one of them well. Colin and I had been in touch for about a year before the movie, just through Twitter and everything. And Ry only found out about 3 weeks before we shot that he was going to be playing Jordy. And he had the biggest role. And so what amazed me about him was that he hadn't even skated. He had to put on skates that hurt his feet. And he had to be in deep water, he had to be in cold water, he had to freeze a lot of the time. He did it with I wouldn't say a smile on his face, but certainly a great attitude. You couldn't ask for more, like there was no ego or anything. He was so pleased, I think, to be a part of the film that he was able to sort of push away the cold and being uncomfortable. So, and I hope that it was a special experience for them. It definitely was for me. Watching the characters come to life is pretty special.
And also drawing when Ed Russell was coming back because he hit a wave in the breakwater and the windows that were floating years off the dash. And Bruce waved to him and Bruce kept on going, oh, there we go! Yeah, he said, holy fuck, it's gonna be a good one. He wasn't even over 5 minutes, the window's gone in. We're still going. Me and Mike, they're a fellow that died, that worked with us. Cape Breton.
A big boat.
Okay, what I made do is
go outside here.
He's gonna take the gear. He's probably gonna swim over there and find out.
Hard to do it. That'd be a great movie scene, right? Pins on. You got him right there. Yeah, he's used to it.
The thing is, if you do not know what you get into it.
How is it? Not bad?
Good. Okay,
What's that? Front lens is fogging up.
No way, really?
Yeah.
Shit. Badly?
Pretty bad.
We can lift it up and show you.
I'm worried with the cold water it's going to get worse.
Yeah.
But
lift it up and show.
You all right?
Can you see it?
I'm dry.
You all right, Chris?
Yeah, everything's good.
Okay.
All right, cameras coming in. Cameras moving. Oh, that's pretty bad.
Yeah.
Shit. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna have to open it up and defog.
Yeah.
Exercise.
Swimming, yeah, keep swimming, do some laps.
Yeah. Got that apple box back too. Grab the apple box.
Let me wipe it.
What's making it fog up?
I don't know. Okay.
Be careful, that seal might be covering
Somebody else can try to tie it.
It's secure.
Okay.
It's outside, and then zip it up.
Get the arrow.
All right, Christopher, here comes camera. Okay, we'll try to do this. Okay, you should be able to let go of it.
There's that where I'm just locked. Drop it again when you want. Not too good.
Roll camera. Rolling. And frame.
And action! Let's see a piece, Nikki. Let's see a piece come over your face. Yeah, so Chris Ball, he was a really terrific guy to work with. He's a very skilled cinematographer. To work with him was a really special experience, especially the first big movie. And I'm kind of a quiet person, and I wouldn't be able to work with just anybody. And I told him that. I said, you know, I really appreciated how calm he was. He was very calm on set. Like, he certainly has the technical skills, and he has a beautiful eye for lighting, for composition. But he's also just a very good-natured, gentle, calm person. So he had a way of being able to work with you and make you feel confident in a situation where you might have moments of panic and not feel confident. So overall, I'd say it was a really special experience to have him as our DP on this film.
And nobody coming indoors. We're gonna lock it down. Alexander, lock it down at the back, at the front, and at the back. Alexander, sorry. That's you ready.
So maybe you should be back in at the fridge by then. Like, you could probably settle by the fridge there, maybe.
Oh, do I go back?
That's a lot of tricks.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I guess we need to see the whole thing from the start. Let's start at the beginning again and then see what we've got.
Can we move the dialogue too? Just so we can
Run the dialogue? Yep.
Yeah, like can we in slow-mo?
Yep, let's do it right from scratch.
Reset the blocking rehearsal from the top.
Okay, I'm gonna do it. Break all my lines. Yeah, thank you, yes.
Okay, and action on rehearsal.
Damn, I forgot to get jam.
Hi, brunch.
Sugar, great.
Okay, I think
if you don't take the donuts from
Yeah, I
the
know.
drawer.
Sorry. He was like, ah.
You can just turn your back on him. Sugar, great. And then he's standing there going, what the heck's
Sugar,
where's
great.
the donuts? Okay, let's try that again. First position.
Excuse me, sorry. I was just.
And then just don't lean forward too far because you block your brother.
Okay, and first positions. And action.
Damn.
Brunch, right?
Sugar, great.
Done a lot of horror films. I've done some children's films. I've done some drama. I've done comedy, but I've mostly done for my lead acting roles. A lot of them have been horror films. So this is very different for that. It's much more personal. It's much more on a real level. The relationships in this are all based on realities and things that can really happen. Whereas in a lot of other films I've done, it's there's a lot of fantastical ideas and there's a lot of fantasy and science fiction and stuff like that. So it's great to really work in something dramatic that's really just about the characters, and they carry the story, they carry the plot, their histories and all their interactions. It's really the entire story there. So that's one big difference is it's totally devoted to character, which I really enjoy.
I can button this up and make it look a little different.
I'm just thinking screen time, it's going to be pretty quick. So, like, if you want to make a choice, maybe 101 would be the safest to throw on, and then go into 27. So it could be, you know, assuming it's before the game, I guess.
Scene 99, I've activated, take 3. Rolling. And frame.
And action.
Action!
You guys have an image on the monitor right now?
No, yeah, we have to plug the SDI over there.
Oh, yeah.
Right over there. Yeah, so this.
Can I get a photo that will actually just walk around? Yeah. Probably don't have to go all the way in yet. If I can get somebody who's prepared to swim.
I can touch it.
I can do it.
Okay, it's still not reading quite. There, that's better. That angle is good, okay? Let's just get focus. Get focus. Focus on. Are you okay, Ry? Oh, it's better like that. Okay, and rolling. Action! Okay, so that's cut. Oh, there. Did it cut?
Yeah.
Okay.
You just wrap them in.
That's perfect.
My name is Christopher Ball. I'm the director of photography or cinematographer. My responsibility is really to deliver Susan's vision to the screen, technically, to do the lighting and the camera work, and to help her make the vision that she wants to make. There's always something new in every movie. It's not, you know, one of the things that's always interested in me about filmmaking in general is that you're always doing something new. You're always learning something new. You're having new experiences. I mean, I've done a lot of things. I've done underwater shooting, but there were still sequences in this that were a little bit different than I've done before. Yeah, no, there's always something new in every movie. There's always a new challenge or something that you haven't dealt with before.
Yeah. actually probably be a little bit more gentle than that. Just sort of keep a...
Say again, hon?
You can probably be a little more gentle. Just keep it constant.
You're going through a Sunday
The only thing that you do it there feels like there's a current. So maybe it's back there, pushing it towards it. So just making a cool move, basically.
Like here?
Yeah. Then otherwise it fell into the current. Good.
Jen, stop it! Roll your boat. Row your boat.
You're on lane.
You made it, Karen. You made it. Karen, mix that. Karen, turn the motor. Balls.
Coffee crop next to the toast. We'll get that here too, and we'll have all the back.
Here, give me that.
Yeah.
Something like that. It depends on how they sit. And I think they'll be looking over at the stage that comes through.
I was playing. He's playing you with me. So why don't we? I think
Oh, that's right. Sorry. You guys are done.
But as long as we have it behind you, I think I established. Did you see Nicky's table? Did you see the amount of
Got a
beer
few,
on that table?
got a few off. Yeah, Dricky.
And
He drank them all.
You know what to do with yours too.
Yeah, I'll pass it. Do I have a fan who's coming by them giving it to her, or am I just going to push it away?
Maybe you'll give it to Noah.
And action.
It's going to land.
You don't have a beer.
Are you ready?
Yeah, the beer's going to come in. Okay.
Hi, my name is Christina McAnulty and I play Abby. It's a great role. It's a very complex character. I like playing roles that are really rooted in humanity, and I thought that Abby was a really relatable character, and it's been really fun to dig into her. She's sad. She's a sad character as well, so that's been challenging, but yeah, it's been really great to bring her to life.
Or even like you're just going to stand there and kind of watch, and it would be a good opportunity for you. Like I almost picture you kind of leaning there with your hands, and, you know, because I think you're in an awkward place where you don't want to go to Nikki and you don't want to go to him. Yeah. You know, but you might look at him for them. You're
And there's going to be a couple of other people dancing in the first, so you can just keep the focus really shallow. Actually, can I see you in the center there? Just come into the...
Yeah, it's a family drama about three brothers who have gone through childhood trauma. One has returned back home, and it's really about their finding their relationship again and healing old wounds and hope for the future. And my character sort of goes through that, a parallel journey through those same sort of emotions as well, and it ends with a lot of hope.
And then just take a look once in a while. Just make a look over to the door. Okay, action.
I don't think it's violent.
And action.
Come on.
And cut. And cut! And then she'll hide in the truck, in the cab, and we'll communicate by walkie. Hopefully it'll work. And enjoy the view.
All right.
Toronto boy. What a sunrise. So Donna, Lee is going to actually start now with the drone, so Ry could start some of his actions if he wants. And then, if you actually want to see what's going on, I mean, you could just walk down and join the crowd, probably.
Okay, do you want both doors on the truck shut? And Ry is on the cliff right now. Is that where you want him?
Tell him to start at the truck behind the wheel, and then he can slide out on my action. Leave him the walkie maybe for a minute.
Left Ry the walkie?
Yeah, if you want to be on the cliff with the people, then you can put the walkie probably in the truck, and then I can talk to him directly.
If you say that's okay, hey, I'll join the people on the beach.
Yeah, watch those fishermen. Send them a blessing.
Thank you. We've been waiting for this day for a while, eh?
The challenge with this film was actually because it was, very low budget, but it was a very big vision. So there was a lot of scenes, there was a lot of locations, there was a lot of dealing with weather, there was a lot of dealing with weather continuity, which is a real challenge. On this low a budget, when you have a very restricted schedule and there's only so many ways you can move things around without creating all kinds of difficulty, you have to work with the weather and you have to work with the environment, and it made it very difficult when the weather kept changing, and we had scenes that were intended to be sunny and then it would be rain, and then we'd have to rethink how all the other scenes would work to make it all make sense, that it's now sunny and now it's raining.
That should pump to one of these boats. Water here.
A little bit more on that wedge. All right, Sue. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, here we go. All right. Rehearsing now, and action on rehearsal. And action on rehearsal. Let's bring that buggy back.
Yeah, well, everybody worked really hard on this film. They've trained for, but they haven't had a chance to do. So it's a learning curve for everybody, which is nice because it means that they're keen and they really want to learn, and they put in a lot of work. So everybody worked really hard on this movie. And I had a great team. They were pleasant to work with. Everybody was friendly. Everybody was nice. There was no sort of attitude or negativity. It was all positive. So. No, it was a great team. It was really, really nice to work with. And a mark for Colin.
I can use that.
Or that blue paint or whatever. Okay. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to lower the door then.
That looks like a triangle.
This is a 35.
What's that triangle? It's all about shapes.
So if I bring the door down to the height of that Home Hardware bucket. Society
And then what I need to cover with the frame is these two marks here. I can always do him with a flag with the eye in it. But these marks here I want to cover with the frame. So we can just bring the frame up here. Almost table it a bit into the building.
Sure. So keep a hand on that.
Right, you
Lifting
are.
it up to get it in the stand.
There.
Lock that one down.
Okay. And action.
Hey! Heart, be still. Hope salvation has arrived.
I wouldn't say that.
The Icebox haven't won a game in 3 weeks. You think the town was important?
Take it hockey's not your thing, though.
Well, there are other ways to entertain oneself on a cold winter's night.
Doesn't your hand get tired?
It doesn't have to work that hard.
Bring your lunch?
Huh? Did you ever work a day job, kid? Mind your own business?
So as you can see, we have the majority of the work done on the outside. We actually cast the frame over at the warehouse over there, and then we bring it back here to finish it up and do all the major interior work on it. We do somewhere around 10 or so boats a year. That's not including Dad's wooden masterpiece he's working on. It's kind of a rarity these days amongst islanders. But he's pretty proud of it. He keeps it in his private shop. Doesn't exactly allow me and Nikki to check it out, but I think it's going to be something special. My name is Spencer Graham, and I'm from Vancouver. I play Noah, who is the baby brother in the movie, and kind of the glue that keeps the whole family together. I love this role, mainly because I find a lot of similarities between Noah and myself, where, you know, the story is very heavy. It's about like a mother who's passed away and his experience with an abusive alcoholic father. I necessarily haven't had an abusive alcoholic father, but I know very closely fathers like that. And I had my mother pass away at a very early age as well, so I feel like me getting to be a part of this movie is very in line with kind of where my life has gone. So I feel very connected to the role. Yeah, I enjoy it.
And then you go back to work and you stay.
He starts to go, and then he says, "We're figuring it out, you know." Me and Nikki.
Yeah.
My book's being like this as we're talking.
Okay, I'm just gonna move that panel and those things, because it's just gonna be wiping the boat.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, it should just look like it.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
And we need to hide the L7s are in the shot.
Feels right to you.
L7s, copy that.
But hey, Stuart.
But you want me jumping off after, but hey, figure she was right.
What's the word for
Oh, you can block it. We can
It's like block it and see how it feels. I don't want to sort of tell you when to move. I want you to move when it feels natural.
53 Alpha 1.
And frame.
Action.
The beauty about independent films and doing something like this is you really bond as a cast and a crew, because we're all kind of figuring it out as we go. There's so many trials and tribulations that we have to kind of overcome that really bring everybody, you know, close. We're a team, you know, we fail together, we succeed together, and it opens the door for a lot of creativity, like a lot of unexpected moments that get to happen in this movie that you don't necessarily get on other bigger projects, I would say. So it's, as an actor, it's a dream come true. Like, Susan's phenomenal in letting us kind of explore where we want to go with the characters and bringing our own touch to it after what she's written. So very, very fortunate to be a part of it, yeah. This opportunity has brought a lot of experiences my way, and some that I won't soon forget.
Baby out, I'm back. I'll come back anytime. It'll be so much more efficient organized next time. Because it's on her balcony. Just need Jordy.
The oldest, the middle, the cutest.
Oldest, middle, most modest.
That's just be a total part. Bucket shot.
Get all the angles.
Which one phone are we looking at?
We're all gonna be looking at
We're
everything.
at you on all
Get in there.
Here, I'll just go here.
Absolutely.
My boys.
Which camera are we looking at?
I'd just like to say thank you to everybody who came out to help work on the movie in any way. We had a lot of volunteers. We had a lot of people who worked on the crew, long days, cold days, and just a lot of people behind the scenes too. And I'd also like to thank, Rick and Nicole and Edith for all the hard work they did pulling the movie together and, all the behind the scenes stuff too. So just thank you very much to everybody for helping make my dream a reality. Great memories.
We like it. Lighting.
We like it.
Very good. Cut.